Arc 1964 here, and another race meeting. This time it's Ascot. First time in a few years I've been to Ascot. There's actually this minute the second most, it's been to the second most time. So I started going racing back 6 years ago. I was saying at some point I'll do a video on what happened with that, and it's all to do with AP McCoy when I suddenly started going racing. I've been once 2014, but I never really went racing very much, partly because I always used to watch racing on TV, partly there never used to be a big screen in those days. I think at Racecourses, this is talking about the 80s, I never got into going horse racing to Newcastle, but I certainly have done a heck of a lot since then. And for a long time, it's actually the Racecourse been to most times. I think it's 19 times now, the 20th time. But Newcastle's just ahead of Ascot now, but it wasn't before. And in fact, York a long time was the second largest. So I've been to all the group graded races at Ascot, apart from one I'm going to today, I'm saying. It's having gone to the Hackworth Stakes newbie last Saturday. It's the Valiant Stakes this year, which came a Group 3 last year. And I actually always used to keep track of the group of graded races. And you used to even buy for about £7 all we were. Where this publication of a group race and pattern races on the flat and the graded races on the jumps. I don't think the jumps ones. I don't see them too recently, actually. I don't know if that's still about as such. But I overlooked it completely, despite looking through it last year. And overlooked the Valiant Stakes was actually came Group 3 last year. And it did. And I was thinking of going to it, actually, as it was still a listed race. And I'd found a cheaper way to get a ticket down to Ascot, like 20 quid, say. I think it was from Newcastle to King's Cross in the morning, but I wasn't sure about getting back with all the COVID issues and the trains maybe being expensive. I'm not even sure if trains are going to be on. I was looking for a month ago, and so I changed my mind. And then when I found the cheap train tickets were available going down, they were going up, so back up to Newcastle. Those then cheap tickets going back down are gone, so I changed my mind. I didn't want to take a risk of just buying a cheap ticket to go down to London, just in case it just had to throw the money away effectively, because I couldn't get it back again. But then I realised it was Group 3, I thought, oh Lord, I better buy a ticket then. So it's not too bad, but now getting back slightly oddly via Leeds, actually. So it was quite a bit cheaper than actually, so it was 8 o'clock to Leeds, and then Leeds to Newcastle getting in about 12:40 in the morning. Because it was just cheaper and it was more effective. Unfortunately, it may not be the best plan, not for anything else, but I've been up since midnight, actually, because I suddenly woke up with a slight calf strain, which is rather annoying. So I don't know, first time, a few times in the last few years I had a calf strain, suddenly. I don't know. I don't know what's brought it on, particularly maybe a little bit too much weight. I'm not saying it's necessarily that though, but I don't know. But it's just slightly, it's okay, but it's a slight pain, but it comes a little bit. So I have to walk back though, because I'm going to come back to Newcastle to my house in Jesmond, then I get back after the last metro, so on the train. Well, it should be okay. I like Ascot a lot. Still, favourite two racecourses are still probably Cheltenham and Aintree, and more jumps on the flat on the whole. Of course, Ascot is a dual course with very good races on both flat and the jumps. One thing I will mention, one issue of it's a very strange one, and I remember it about a year or something. I still remember about this. It was about 4 years ago, and I got in normally, to Racecourse. And I had the equivalent of a Premier ticket, I normally would get. I mean, not today, because it's about 50 quid more expensive than the sort of more grandstand type ticket. I can't remember what the names of the closures now are outside Royal Ascot. I can't remember the names of them anymore. I have said in a previous video, I think, I don't know if I've talked about it out yet in that video, and why Ascot have to use royal names all the time. Silver Wing, which used to be a sort of third class, a very good steel ticket to very great views for Royal Ascot. It used to be Silver Wing. It's called, I think, is it Queen Anne enclosure, something like that. God knows why. Silver Wing was perfectly fine. Anyway, I went to be escalated to the 4th floor for this meeting I'm talking of with a Premier ticket, and someone asked to see my bag. I had a bag with I've had a Frankel bag actually, because I'm pretty sure then sort of told all really. I got when I went to see Frankel about 4 or 5 years ago. I might have put a picture of it. I've got the Frankel from close quarters. I would say it's a bit more expensive, I think, than it used to be to do that. You have to do a thing of Banstead Manor Stud mailing list. I've done it once. Because it's a new market, you have to get there. I won't do it again probably because it's just too expensive. But it's really interesting to do, and I think for something a decent amount of money goes to charity. It's worth doing. It's certainly worth doing if you want to do that. But anyway, like I said, I asked to see with my bag. And now that's never happened in any other racecourse, including Ascot, actually, at any point. I'm not talking about trying to get into the racecourse. I'm talking about actually within racecourse itself. Of course, you want people want to see in your bag when you go into a racecourse. Yeah, that's fine. I have no issue with that at all. That's perfectly normal, and any other racecourse would do that. But I've never seen it happen to anyone else even. So I've been to 300 plus meetings, four courses in Ireland, I think Laytown, Leopardstown, Punchestown and Amacoa, and every racecourse in Britain including Towcester, which is of course totally closed. And that's never seen it happen, never mind, that's never happened to me. I know it's happened to anyone else. As in, checking your bag when you're in the racecourse. And I still don't know why they did it. Perhaps it's not posh enough to be in the Premier closure. I don't know. And that's one of these things where you think, I wish at the time I'd actually made a complaint, because, or at least had a word asked, why are you doing this? Because it done no one else, and it was very odd. I just remember it's a one issue, and I still don't know why this person did it. A member of staff in the slightly posh looking Ascot uniform, like York, over there. Well, I don't like the colour at all, actually, light blue. I really have to say, I think York's a better colour than that. I think it may be a colour of York Racecourse, basically. They have their staff and the things like that, and I think certain racecourses have a uniform, so I was saying. That's one, I think, is the ball hat, is it? I think normally. I don't know if either staff. We staff, both sort of staff, the custom, the sort of the racecourse staff, not obviously everyone else. But it was just strange. I still don't know why they did it. But anyway, I'll let that go. Next meeting is Newcastle next week for first ever Racing League meeting. As I said before, I live in Newcastle, obviously. It's 12 quid, an evening meeting, and I could have given it a go. And it's my working may not. I'm not convinced at all it's the right idea, but they're saying it's only 12 quid. I give that a go. Other meetings, Hexham Deffert on 31st of August, going to that one. I'll probably go to Sedgefield on about the 20th to the 1st of August. It's an evening meeting, and I've worked out I think I can get a bus back. I'll sit and make sure before I get there, before I sit buying a ticket, I can actually get back. I put in my Sedgefield Festival preview video, I think from 2 years ago, I stated there, it was a nice evening, and suddenly realised buses were a timetable. I looked on Google, basically checking a timetable for the bus, whichever bus it is, from X1 I think it is, it would take me from Sedgefield back to Durham Station with train back to Newcastle, and the times had changed. And we either left out a date bus timetable you could find on Google, and I was rather angry to say the least afterwards of them. But of course you can't do anything about it. You couldn't actually sue them, but I was furious about it. And now having to get £35 quid taxi out of Sedgefield, because I just couldn't find anyone available, and it was the only one I could do to get to Durham. Not even Newcastle, I had to get back to Durham. I was actually furious, the whole thing. And it's a nice enough preview event, but I just can't get back from it. 2 years earlier, we're in about a 10 o'clock, 10:30 bus out of Sedgefield to Durham, and they left that timetable up. So you could, searchable on Google, and of course it was completely out of date. The irony is, I didn't say it on that video because I didn't know this. There's a trainer, I don't know who it is now, but it was there who had a horse in the mare during one hurdle. And he said, I fancy this, my horse here. And I thought, when I have a meet, and then I thought, well, on the day, I thought, well, I put a few quid each way on this horse, 100 to 1, and below me it got placed. And I've actually made enough money. I think we made a profit of 150 odd quid or something like that. We've even taken account of even writing off 35 quid taxi fare. So it's actually a very profitable event in the end. But I won't do it again because I just can't. You can't prove it. You're always going to make 150 quid. I also plan to go to Ayr, I think September 16th for Thursday, a listed race fair. I can't normally go to that meeting because I usually go with friends that Pacific Thursday to York Beer Festival. But that's been, because of this year and last year as well, of course, it's been cancelled because of COVID. Hopefully it'll come back next year. It's a very nice event of people, not all of them in Newcastle, a few from elsewhere, meet up there. Well, I thought, but that's cancelled. But give a chance to do this meeting. I did consider possibly Don Lusker Phillies meeting in Yarmouth the day before. So having That's it. Only now, if nothing disastrous happens, I get to Ascot for Valiant Stakes. The only group of grade race I've got left is actually the new Libertine Mares Chase at Cheltenham Festival. One that came in and replaced the 2 mile 5 novice handicap. And that's the one I've not been to. And I'm thinking of buying a ticket for it. Unfortunately, it's Gold Cup Day, which is actually a problem in terms of it's more expensive. And also tickets are more expensive this year than normal. I think I've only been to a festival once, 2016. Great 4 days, especially watching Sprinter Sakura with his second champion chase, watching Martin in the line winning post. Absolutely fantastic. But accommodation especially is expensive, no matter the tickets. And I noticed actually possibility of maybe doing Airbnb. It's a lot cheaper. I think just people may be doing that because as an option, people offering that because the accommodation is so expensive at Cheltenham that period. But it can be unreliable. I went once, did that once, and it was very good. But it apparently can't leave bad reviews for people. So you wonder if the reviews of people are right. So I don't know. Think about it. The obvious thing to do is go probably just get the train of the day and buy the tickets for the festival. Problem is, I'm not sure it will be that day next year, just because it's this year. I mean, the whole races can change. For example, the Grand Annual will almost always run the final day with the changes of the races. It's been shifted this year to Tuesday. And I remember the bumper, 92, the famous trick question, which horse won 2 successive races at the Cheltenham Festival, bumper used to be a final race on the Thursday, which in those days, of course, the 3-day meeting was the final race. And Van Montalado won that, and then he won the Speedman Officers Hurdle, the first race on the Tuesday. So, of course, he won 2 successive races. But the bumper, since that first year, was shifted to a final race on Wednesday, where it's been ever since. So will the mares race stay there? I don't know. I don't want to buy a ticket for Gold Cup, partly to see this race, and only to find out the day changes. A possibility of Newcastle around about the 2nd of September. The only one that I'm really definitely going to is Doncaster, I think the 28th of December. Well off near listed race there, and I couldn't quite get to the thought of going to something else planned. I'm trying to go for, because of going for all the group and graded races now, apart from Cheltenham Festival and Libertine Mares Chase. Also trying to go for the listed races, but they're, of course, I mean, some of them, there's a couple at Newmarket of Racecourse, one at Rolling Mile, one Goodwood, and a few others as well, a number of others. But it's quite simply about the cost of the train. Is it worth it for a listed race? And that's I can't spend all my money going horse racing. I've been a bit too much for a few years back, so I can't keep doing that. So I'll think about that. But the Doncaster one, though, it should be able to get a reasonably cheap advance ticket, and it always, I think it's 28th, like the King George Chase is always December 26th, World Square National was December 27th, and the Doncaster meeting's always December 20th, or possibly 29th. I can't remember which day it is, but it's always the same day. I mentioned Down Lusker, Filly Stakes. Yeah, the same reason. I only been to Yarmouth once. I've been saying every Racecourse in Britain at least once. And I want to do that at some point, and I filled of it, but it's almost an impossibility, because Ayr the next day, we're talking about going to Ayr December 16th for John Lusker Filly Stakes, is the 15th. It's basically just not practical, and at least a little bit. To get to Yarmouth from Newcastle, get back again probably after midnight, and then trying to get to Ayr the next day, it's just not sensible. You'd have to get a cheap ticket from Ayr, have to go 9 o'clock on. But I did buy a ticket now. Well, I haven't bought a ticket yet on the 20th. They've got the cheap Newcastle to Carlisle £3 each way tickets haven't come available yet. But frankly, it's certainly not going to be practical. So I probably won't do that. And I think anyway, with COVID, train tickets are more expensive this year, so going down south basically, and also that to going north, Musselburgh's been a problem. I thought we were going to Musselburgh, but the train tickets are more expensive than they really normally are into Musselburgh, and also Sydney Market Racing as well, and the same issue there by Newark. It's more expensive than it used to be. But anyway, I might as well get off and get the train. I said I got here about half an hour before, for various reasons. Ended up half an hour before the train, so that's about 18 hours for the train now. God, it's warm in London. At Waterloo, I had planned to go with National Gallery. I had enough time actually. The train going at 9 o'clock, and the Ascot one only left, I think, at 11:50. Unfortunately, due to track issues, train's 45 minutes late. At least I'll get half speed down, pushing 20 quid back. Half my train fed down, but that was a problem. It's got in the case, was 45 minutes late. and I booked for Gascally for 10. There was no way I was going to get there for that time, and I had to really get, you have to really get there for the time you have on the ticket. It was free, so I don't lose anything. So in the end to do something quite simple, as I sweat a bit too much. God, it was warm. No breeze around in this part. There was a breeze going across the Thames from not here. I decided, paraphrasing the village people and the pet shop boys, to go south, young man.
Young, you don't have to use your imagination. Go on, it is ludicrous.
And I realised that basically, no from Racecourse station, the other side of the road south, and just kept going south. And said, well, hit the Thames eventually, and I did. And she went straight, basically, I didn't realise the woman went straight south. I actually hit, saw a few diversions where I couldn't go directly south, and about literally at Waterloo, across the Waterloo Bridge. So I might go. I actually have enough time to get a pint here, strictly, because I'm here at 11, and the train coming out at 11:50. I might just go 11:20 to Ascot, though I just can't. It's so warm. I don't really fancy drinking this sort of weather, to be honest. Even if it's air conditioned, I don't really fancy it. It's unusual, really, for me in this situation. Ascot's real ale. It's probably conveniently located in Ascot don't have real ale. And ones that have real ale aren't conveniently located for me, as looking where the train station is or a racecourse is, of 3 ones that you could have really chosen. All of it are in just like 20 minutes walk of there and back again, and it's just none of them are conveniently located. But I get out of this heat actually before a start actually. So I grew up near where the tenant was brought up. I don't know the pet shop boys. It's power delicious, mate.
You said it, the rent is too damn high.
The heat is too damn hot. The condition of the train in Southwestern wasn't ideal. In fact, it was actually better when we got to stations and if someone was getting on or off. I got some cool breeze, and I was almost half jokingly thinking I ought to go and just open the doors if no one's getting off just to get some breeze, but I thought it might not look too good with that, and I thought you might get told off, certainly if you did it more than once. Total surprise to have a waste card at Ascot. I thought you probably would. It's more likely was I think to have a waste card. I have a tendency to shove things in my pockets, a waste card, in bags so they don't fall out, because I don't really want to. I can't be able with a bag search, a hassle to get in. And normally no one checks. I'm surprised no one ever does, because it's practically got something in the 2 pockets. Use a spare batteries, and unfortunately the charge, my S5 doesn't charge correctly, so I can't use the plug to do that. So I can find a way of charging my batteries, but not the phone itself. I had heard a woman of a white though say something about some people in pockets. I think, oh, she wants to check out people's pockets. The pockets are always 2 bags in your pockets. The guy on the left didn't seem to be checking anything or saying anything about that. So, go to the left. Then I haven't heard woman of the white. And if someone said something, oh, sorry, and I say, oh, I didn't hear. Sorry, I wasn't paying attention. Well, at Racecourse station, pretty much on my train. Okay, I'm not actually there. I'm across the road at Belgrove Street, trying to get some sort of privacy really to do this, while looking like some sort of madman. I am a madman, of course, but I don't look like one as well. That would save time too much. I had originally planned to have a pint in the Black Dog at Vauxhall. I actually deliberately got to the Vauxhall station and walked eventually from the pub. As I slightly feared, just a little too busy to get a seat, and I wouldn't be able to probably get that. So, I would, if it actually, well, there's 2 things I'll say. One, basically, if I'd gone directly from Ascot to Waterloo and Waterloo to King's Cross via the very short switch at change at Oxford Circus, and I think I said before, there's a very useful change there from the, I think it's the Bakerloo line to Oxford Circus, and then the Victoria line there to King's Cross. Is a very, very quick change between 2 lines. I've had easily enough time for 2 pints, but at $5.35 a pint of a pass yard is rather expensive, and I feel a bit knackered as well. I think I've been up since 12 this morning because of this calf strain. I couldn't get up to sleep after that, and so I ended up at a pass yard. I would have a chance for 2 pints, but the ridiculous situation is it's actually a decent pub. Apart from one time, and there's also some people put up as well. My neighbour, I think, had the same sort of issue. I had half a pint, went to a toilet and came back, and the blame bar staff had taken it away. And I actually complained to the bar staff at the pass yard and said, oh, where's my pint? And we gave a half pint back. And I don't mind if there's a little bit left to taking it. There's half a pint left. That's ridiculous. It wasn't exactly busy either. It was actually the morning. and that was but it's with 9 hand pumps there, and there's usually a lot of variety, even though it's the fullest pub. 5 are London Pride. That's absolutely ridiculous. I'm sorry, that's absurd. And just crackers. It's quite quiet actually. It's surprisingly quiet on Friday night, and I think they may be losing customers because of this, because they're not having so little variety. And if I had more time, maybe for a second pint, I might have looked at brain. Sorry, I think not since 12 midnight. The craft beer instead. I felt a bit knackered after this first pint. I've been up for so long. I didn't really feel like a second pint particularly. I didn't have time for it anyway really. I had to push it quite a bit before the train thing. As I say, came to Leeds and then Transpennine actually from Leeds to Newcastle, and they're getting in at 12:40. Ascot's okay, fine. There's one bizarre incident. But I was saying the staff are the main what you call, not the security people, but sort of just the main Ascot staff, you know, the sort of stewards wear bowler hats, and the bowler hat landed on the grandstand terrace. Oh, grandstand terrace, the steps. I don't know where it came from. I think it came from the floor above. I don't think anyone phoned it from somebody. I think it just fallen off somebody somehow, and then up the floor below. I don't quite know how it happened. It landed. It was absolutely bizarre, landing in the grandstand area. That's all. The second thing, and again, I like to talk about lack of stewarding. This actually bizarrely helped me today. So quite a cheap ticket, 20 quid odd, as opposed to about 80 quid. I had the Queen Anne enclosure. As 80 quid for the basically the I know it's going to be King of the 8th enclosure. So 7th, not the 8th. I don't think it is, but I'm pretty sure it's not the 8th. King of the 8th. I think it's the 7th, but I'm not sure about that enclosure. It's more like winning post, and it's a lot cheaper. And also first race, I watched a bit too far up from the winning line, and because I said I didn't have a ticket, wouldn't have got me in front of the winning line, and was certain of that. I think once you kept going further and further up, like I think to myself, like a footballer taking forward, you creep gradually further up the field, because it's clear that the dividing line was a bit further up than I thought it was. And then I'm realising that in this area, in line winning post, not the bit on the 4th floor, the bit on I'm still getting escalated to the 4th floor at Ascot. Not that part, you can't get into that part at all without the jacket, tie and the white ticket. Almost certainly, I definitely have staff checking there. But no one's in the line of a winning post. That's how high up in the seats, and it's a nice, very nice view, but it's still, of course, very expensive. Certainly today. And we've got my Queen Anne enclosure only about just over 20 quid, and so certainly not cheaper on that. But the bitching line winning post on the ground floor, there's no stewarding, and I started realising that there's people there who shouldn't be there. Now, someone in shorts, and certainly not in a jacket and tie, and I'm realising there's no stewarding here, and people just wandering along from my enclosure I was in to that one and just watching racing around the winning post. And I sort of, after the 4th race, the Group 3 Valiant stakes, which is therefore basically joined them, because why not? No one was saying you couldn't be there, and I wasn't actually there. A bit saying this was not part of the Queen Anne enclosure, so you could justifiably say, "Oh, sorry, Gov," if one of the staff had come along and said you shouldn't be here. There was so many people there without a jacket and a tie. It became clear that no one's enforcing this. It wasn't if everybody had been with a jacket and tie, bar maybe 1 or 2 people, I'd have not gone, because I think, it's obvious it's not the white enclosure. But this wasn't obvious. It was not a clear dividing line, so I just wanted to cross and watch the racing line winning post for the last 4 races. I mean, we went off to parade in between races as well, and pre-parade ring. But this is ridiculous, and as people have paid a lot of money here, if I paid 80 odd quid, I'd be annoyed. I'm pretty sure, I'm saying positive, I can't be totally sure, but I'm pretty damn sure that you should not be there with my ticket in that winning post on the grandstand on the ground floor. But no one's enforcing this, and again the stewards were in the bits of going to the 4th floor, but not elsewhere. I may be wrong, it may be that you can stand there with my ticket, but I'm a stop. But there was actually just above that, in the arch, because the way it works in Amsterdam, where it is in Ascot, go down the steps to the racing, and the bit back up in the main hall, just going to the left in Ascot, so right out of the tracks, so we go from clockwise. So racing goes from the right to left, and right to the left on the hall, so the top here, is a split between the two enclosures, but not at the bottom. There's nothing. So I'm almost certain I shouldn't have been there, but hey, it doesn't bother me. It was a nice view, and I paid a lot less money than I might have paid for it. I'm just certain I shouldn't have been there. It is all very, again, that sounds like saying racing, very, very strange. As was an independent course, like Newbury was last time on. As I said, I've got a few left, Newcastle next week, which does now mean the only grade race left I've got left is the new one. Well, this was the new one last year, but new for this year, which is the Grade 2 Libertine Chase. I have said before, I'm not convinced, I do not know why it's been named as Libertine. I said that somewhere else. I think I said, or at least I'm going to say it to somewhere else. I think he wrote it down for video. I don't know if I recorded that yet or not, actually. But my criticism of that, because I think that's wrong. I think it's nepotism, basically. I don't know who the current chairman of Cheltenham is. He was Robert Whaley-Cohen. Criticism as a jockey of his son Sam Whaley-Cohen, which I think is totally unjustified. Sam Whaley-Cohen has just about the best record of the age fences. Now, as I say, as an amateur, he can actually take his time over his rides and judge them very well. I remember it's 2010, I think he won the National Challenge Cup and Tricky Trickster, and Graham Goodley, Channel 4 commentator, was actually there as a part owner. I was praising very heavily and strongly Sam Whaley-Cohen, so you've seen all the videos, which is the advantage of an amateur. You don't have to, you're not riding day to day, you have the time to pick and choose. You know, you're riding these horses in these races. You can pick and choose, you can target your horses and actually really get to know horses very, very well. But still, and he's got a brilliant record. As long as you think Ruby Walsh, your best record of the age fences, and I had read, but even taking out the amateur races, obviously Ruby Walsh couldn't have ridden in. Whaley-Cohen still has just about the best record. Absolutely brilliant one of those fences. Not won Grand National yet. I think that's just, he's not got a white horse yet. He tends to ride his dad's horses, and they're not always the best horses you can ride. I mean, AP McCoy had that problem, always riding JP Manners' horse, and Peter Scudamore has the problem of always, almost still the last 2 years, riding a Martin Pipe horse. And you don't always get the best horses you've got in that situation, but he wants to ride his dad's horses, of course, in a race, and so, so fair enough. What was a bit of criticism, slightly, one horse, I think, was it Black Lion, I'm trying to come to it was now, but basically was bought for him. And then, I think Robert Whaley-Cohen is not short of money and basically bought the horse for Whaley-Cohen to ride on a Grand National. But yeah, so with some criticism. But anyway, we're talking about the Whaley-Cohens as certainly Robert Whaley-Cohen. Robert Cohen owned Libertine. Now Libertine won 2003, I'll have to put it up. Maybe what was called Marmia Fleet Chase, now called the Plate. I think that's a very boring name. Marmia Fleet is not, much more interesting name. And in fact, actually, near where I live, I know, again, I may put it into the video I was going to at some point. There's actually, the Malmay Road, very close to Jasmine, and there's actually what used to have a name of Fleet House. I think I still got a picture I took at the time. Luckily I did, because it's now gone down, that sign. Actually, I saw about half a year ago the sign's been removed. But it's interesting to see that obviously there's a connection with, I think, an MP. At the time, for some reason, it was named after with the Pacific Malmay, Anthony Malmay, his father. Actually, as of MP, I believe, not to be Malmay of Fleet, but I think it was just his dad. But it was named after. But it was also, but Libertine won race. But it's not the only mare to win race at Cheltenham Festival. Unfortunately, My Silver, and certainly ring My Silver them will transfer on more acclaim. And there's other, and I just think, why Libertine? It's a vastly official name, by the way. It's obviously a sponsor name, but why Libertine? I know the horse was a decent one at Aintree, but also one at Cheltenham. But I think I just scratched the nepotism, frankly. I think it's a wrong decision. As other horse, Amlong's daughter, an Irish horse, as very well won the Arkle, close second, as well came second in the Champion Chase. There's My Silver, as I said, My Silver would have been, I think, maybe certainly a better choice. And maybe others. I mean, other horses won like a Butterfly, won the novices. I'm sure there's some like I think of who are not mentioning. They already have Dawn Run hurdle already, named after Dawn Run. But I'm just not convinced. I think it was a bit, jobs for boys or names for boys basically. So that's it then. I'm saying get off to Leeds with a train. I've got Newcastle coming up next week. I'll probably have Hexham next month, and I was saying, I'll definitely have Hexham next month, probably Sedgefield, and I said Ayr in September, and then, I don't know about after that, York, I didn't mention York. York, I'll probably go to in October. I was supposed to go to Evil meeting one of the 4 days. Just too expensive though. I'm really just, I still got a couple of days October meeting. I've been to it before, but I might go to it again. It's a lot cheaper than the Evil meeting, and I might see if I can get losing enough weight to get me back in time and buy a posh ticket for that. But it isn't too much, only about less than 30 quid for that ticket. So it's a couple of days, I've got 1 over 2 days. And also, I was also noticing there's a Richard III exhibition at the Yorkshire Museum. I remember Richard III Society offers a more equal, a more, has a number of years, more fair, so I would say, plays of Richard III than Shakespeare. Shakespeare's play brilliant, I have to say, it's a fantastic play, but it's a rubbish history, it really is. And, but yeah, so I'm a member of Richard III Society. I do find some of them are a bit obsessive, frankly, and they go a bit too far the other way, Richard III, like, you know, I'd like to say he's too, I mean, a bit of a fan club, shall we say. You know, they do, some people do think they're rather ridiculous. And I don't think I've been a cult member actually. I think I remember lapsed at some point. I've been a member a couple of times over the years. I might read it at some point. But then there's an interesting exhibition which is third, it's going up there for quite a few months and certainly into October. So what I do is I'll do that in the morning, and then in the afternoon I'll get to York, unless it's one of the 2 meetings, an evening meeting. I'll have to look that up. That's off in October.